It's time for the Chapter and Chatter Cafe with Camden County Library District Director, Professor Jim Pasley.
All right.
Sure. Good morning. Welcome to the latest episode of Chapter and Chatter. I'm Professor Jim Pasley, director here at the Camden County Library, and I have with me our marketing director, Coli Creach, and we're going to tackle another one of our series of players in the Middle East today. And this one's kind of an interesting one. Of course, they're all a little bit interesting, aren't they?
Just a little bit.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Hezbollah. Now, that's something that's popped up on the news. We've seen it time and again here in the past 4 weeks or so. We see these rockets being lobbed, and they're coming from another direction this time. You know, we were looking at Gaza before, and we were looking at Hamas, which is in the southern part of Israel. Now we're looking at the northern side, and here pops up this group called Hezbollah. Now, they've got kind of a fascinating background in the fact that Hezbollah is a Shiite Muslim political party and a militant group. They kind of wear two hats. And again, when I say Shiite, bear in mind that there's two major religious groups. There's the Shiites and the Sunnites. The Shiites are the ones that believe that anybody that's head of the Muslim faith has to be a direct descendant of Muhammad. The Sunni, on the other hand, don't believe that. And that's where the big religious split is there in the Middle East.
Gotcha.
So these guys are Shiite, and the other major group that is Shiite in that area is Iran. So there's your tie between them. And you hear so much on the news about how Iran is providing everything that Hezbollah needs to carry on these rocket attacks. And they're a force to reckon with. Now, basically, they're the same way as Iran. Their goal is to eliminate Israel completely. And so that becomes their number one goal, and as such, they're getting the full backing of Iran. Now, indeed, they are a terrorist organization. We've designated them as a terrorist organization, the United States has. But these guys have a lot of deep-rooted alliances in the area. You hear about the Houthis in Yemen. They're tied to them. They're tied to Hamas. They actually train some of the Hamas players. And so throughout that region, they're a major player. Now, what's happened here is all of a sudden everything's escalated. Now, when the attack started with the area of Hamas down in the Gaza Strip, what happened is that Iran, working with Hezbollah, was able to get them to get in a two-front war. And if you're a military strategist, that's the key thing. Anytime you're opposing somebody, put your enemy in a two-front war. And so that's exactly what they're doing now. Now Israel not only has to worry about their southern border, they have to worry about the north as well.
Gotcha.
So that puts them between a rock and a hard place, if you will. Now, I'm going to run through a little rundown, basically, of how we got to where we're at. So bear with me here. We're going to kind of zip through history real quick. Now, back in 1943, after 23 years as a French territory, as a result of the settlement of World War I, that's how far back this goes, basically Lebanon gained its independence. Now, I've got to step back a little bit here. Understand that in World War I, what happened is the Saudis, they had joined up with the British in an effort to push the Ottoman Turks out of that whole region down there. This was all the way back in World War I. If you haven't seen it, watch the movie Lawrence of Arabia. It's really good and historically accurate. But in essence, what happened is that the Arabs joined up with the British, pushed the Turks out, and when the war came to an end, World War I, you had a clean map there. There was no Jordan, there was no Syria, there was no Iraq, there was no Iran. It's all gone. And so what the minds in Versailles in France decided at the end of the war is, well, we'll just draw new lines on the map.
So what was it before? So it was just, I mean, just one?
It was part of the Ottoman Empire, the Turkish Empire. Yeah.
So it was still part of Turkey?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah, and the Turks had taken over that whole area. So what happens is that they come in and they draw the lines on the map. And when they drew the lines on the map, they said, there it is. And they said, we'll give Jordan and Syria to France. Your job is to keep these guys in line. And Iraq and Iran, you guys, we're gonna make you under British rule. So you can imagine, you know, here these people are, it would be like if you woke up this morning here in Camden County and they said, you're now part of Kansas.
Okay.
What? Right, yeah. And you know, Civil War buff that I am, that isn't going to fly. And so what happened is that the people, needless to say, they didn't take into account that these folks, you know, nobody asked them what they wanted.
Right.
They just woke up in the morning and there's a French flag in your front yard. And you're like, wait. And so that's where this whole mess kind of started.
Gotcha.
Okay? So what happened is that after a period of time, the idea was we'll teach them how to do democracy, and once they've got it, we'll turn it back over to them. All right? We'll turn it over to the people.
Okay.
And that's what they did, and they turned around and gave Lebanon its independence. All right? Now, its new leaders signed something called a national pact, and it created a government system that divided the power among the major religious groups. Now, think about this, all right? Okay, we're going to take the flag away.
Right.
But your president's going to be Shiite and your vice president's going to be Sunni. And oh, by the way, we'll sprinkle some Christians in there too. And so you had the three religious groups that you put in to replace this, and they're all going, wait, what? And can you imagine them trying to get any kind of consensus? It'd be like our Congress today, right?
I wasn't going to say that.
It's very similar, right? And so what happens is that these guys turn around and find themselves with this strange parliament that's been set up, this governing entity, all right? Now, in 1971, the Palestine Liberation Organization, which is the PLO, these are the people that were basically pushed out as a result of the settlement from World War I, where they created the country of Israel. And so the Palestinians basically got pushed out, and they wound up here in Lebanon. And so let's sprinkle them in as well, more people that aren't happy with the settlements from these conflicts. All of these things stem from World War I and World War II. That's how this all got to where it is today, all right? Now, in April of 1983, Beirut's embassy, U.S. embassy, was bombed. Some of you may remember this, when they had 63 soldiers were killed and all, back in 83. Of course, you were probably not born yet, or yes, 2 years old.
Not to age myself, but yeah.
Yes, but you just aged me terribly. You know, yes,
sorry.
yes, I know. You know, it used to be when I was teaching classes, we got to Vietnam and somebody said, my grandpa fought in that war. And I'm like, oh my goodness. You know, yeah. So bottom line, 83, we start to see Hezbollah being involved in these suicide attacks, these bombings. And we're like, who are these guys? Okay? And so that created quite the stir, and everybody starts trying to evaluate who's doing what in this area and who's behind it. Now, in 1975 through 1990, what happened is exactly what you think would happen. A civil war broke out, all right? And this basically was a Lebanese civil war, and it pitted not only the religious, but the political and the ethnic groups that were there. When you put 4 different groups in an area, and they're all of different religious backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, political backgrounds, and they walk away and say, well, that'll work. I think not, right? And
I don't think so.
That's basically where we're at today. We've still got all of these different entities have been put in one spot, and they're all still vying for control of the area. Now, jump ahead to 1992. In March, the Israeli embassy in Buenos Aires, of all places, was bombed by a group from Hezbollah in Buenos Aires. And all of a sudden, people are saying, oh, I thought those guys were up there in Lebanon. What are they doing in Buenos Aires? Well,
Yeah.
They've decided to take it on the road. They're going to go wherever they can and wreak havoc on Israel in an effort to try and eliminate the Israeli state. So all of a sudden, it perks up everybody's ears, and they're going, wait a minute. And now you've got people like the UN are stepping in and looking at this and saying, how is this happening? Okay,
Right.
because this is causing unrest worldwide now. And people are thinking, who's next?
Right.
And bear in mind, we're backing Israel, so we're pretty concerned about these folks too. Where are they going to hit next, all right? Now, in 1989, Lebanon's parliament, they met in Saudi Arabia, and they signed an agreement to end the civil war, but of all things, what they did is they said, well, we need somebody to step in and maintain control, and who do you think they picked? Syria. Syria, okay? So now, we already had the 4 crazy groups all together there. Let's bring Syria in. You know, this guy Assad that you hear so much about, the ones that we've been, you know, the Syrian Civil War.
Yes.
Well, now he's put in charge of maintaining the peace there. Are you with me so far? I mean, it's like, here we go, let's just, you know, throw some more monkeys in the barrel and see what happens.
Not a very good barrel.
No, no. But when you do things like that, you know, you wash your hands and say, well, let's try that for a while. Well, you know how it turned out, all right? Now, of all things, the next car bombings that take place in '94 take place in London, of all places, all right? And here again, they're bombing the Israel's London embassy. Again, Hezbollah has reached out. Buenos Aires, London, in other words, they're sending the message, we can hit you anywhere we want, all right? So this Hezbollah, what I'm trying to tell you is that when they pop up on the news right now, they're not just a little ragtag group of folks. They're very, very well organized and well funded by Iran. So they're somebody that we all need to be keeping an eye on. It's
scary.
It is scary.
Because I mean, how are they getting so sneakily into these areas?
Exactly.
I mean, that's how I'm seeing it.
Exactly.
Am I seeing that right, or?
Yes, you are. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, they are a terrorist organization. And the things that they're doing, they're not full frontal attacks. They're, you know, a handful of terrorists are sneaking into these countries and being able to basically do their terror thing.
Right.
They're putting their ability to work as terrorists to blow up these embassies. And in essence, as we threaten them, you know, you've got to take into consideration it only takes 3 or 4 of them.
Well, I was going to say, we could threaten them, but it's, I mean,
yes,
they're not afraid, obviously, of wreaking havoc.
Exactly. And this is one of the big concerns we have right now when they talk about not knowing who's coming across our borders. Because, you know, again, we talk about the ones that we vetted that came in.
Right.
And what about all the gotaways? And bear in mind, it only takes 3 or 4 of them. So this is a huge concern for us. Now, in 2005, the Lebanese Prime Minister, a guy by the name of Rafik Hariri, he's assassinated. Now, go figure, right? So he gets assassinated, and his death, which is attributed to Syria, who's supposed to be keeping the peace,
Right.
well, they weren't getting along with the guy that was running things, the head of parliament, so they took him out. That's how you keep the peace, you see. You just remove him. All right, and it kicks off what they called the Cedar Revolution. And the UN got involved in this thing saying, holy cow, what are we going to do now? Right. And they're saying Hezbollah is the one that was involved in it. So Hezbollah and Syria basically didn't like the way things were going. They take out the leader. That's the way it works over there. Now, in 2011, Syria descends into its own civil war,
Right.
which we're aware of. So now you have a civil war in Lebanon and a civil war in Syria going at the same time, and all of these people are supposed to be working together to bring peace to that whole area. Israel's not even involved in this one. This is all everything heading to the north, okay? So you can imagine how unstable all of this area is. And that's basically where we are. Now, in 2013, the European Union, they're concerned. They're watching what's happening. And basically, they designated Hezbollah's armed wing a terrorist organization as well, just like we did. So now, all of a sudden, Europe is looking at this, and they're saying, holy cow, the United States was right. These guys are a mess over there. We're going to have to do something.
Right.
Now, when you have a civil war, naturally, the economy collapses, and that's exactly what happened. And people are raising all kinds of hell because they don't have food. They're saying, you guys can argue all you want, you can have your internal strife, but in the meantime, I've got to feed my kids. And so another protest steps forward. And what happens is the Prime Minister, Saeed Hariri, he resigns. Now, Hezbollah vows revenge after a U.S. drone strike kills the Iranian commander of their military, this Qasem Soleimani. You guys may remember that name, Soleimani? Okay, took him out. Later that year, a top judge begins investigating, and officials tied to Hezbollah in relation to the explosions basically said, yep, Hezbollah was, actively stirring the pot here, and so it was only right that this guy gets taken out. Now, Hezbollah launches attacks across the Israeli-Lebanon border. This all started just recently. This is what you've been seeing. All these rockets that are flying in from the north, okay? So it's coming from a country, if you will, that's total chaos. You have Syria, you have a religious fight, Sunnis and Shiites, you have Christians. All of this is happening in that area of Lebanon. And you think, what in the world? So the rockets themselves aren't coming from all of the Lebanese people. They're coming from the southern part where Hezbollah has its stronghold. Now, yeah, it's not, in other words, it's not a stable country up there that's doing this. It's a portion of Lebanon. The bulk of the Lebanese people, they're not involved in this thing. They're just trying to feed their families.
Right.
But what you have is Hezbollah is this military arm that has a certain amount of representation in the government that is launching these attacks against Israel. So, that's why you see on the news when people are saying, Israel, you can't just come back and wipe out all of Lebanon and take it off the map. Because
that makes more sense now.
Yes, it makes more sense.
That now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody's saying, well, I just go in and nuke the thing, turn it into a sheet of glass. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. Because like I say, you have Christian and Sunni and all these other people that basically
they're not really, they have no dog in the fight.
No.
It's just one certain sect.
They're living in a situation that
it's just as bad as Israel's.
It just happened. Yes, exactly. That's a great way of putting it, okay? Now, basically what happens is in 2024, Israel killed the longtime leader, Hassan Nasrallah. They killed him in an airstrike several weeks ago. You guys saw this on the news, okay? So that was the Hezbollah leader. They took him out, all right? Now, this was followed by a series of strikes that killed other leaders. And this is where you saw the thing, which I'm still scratching my head how they did it, where everybody had a cell phone or a pager and the thing blew up. Okay, so think what Israel did here. They took out the leader, and then it wasn't 2 weeks later, everybody's handing out the cell phones and the pagers, and they're blowing up all over the place. And what you wind up with...
You wouldn't be suspect of
right,
that?
right. Here's what you wind up with, folks. Now, this is their org chart, okay? And you can see Hassan Nasrallah at the top. And then, systematically, what's happened is Israel's gone after these guys, and the next 3 down, and the 3 after that, and the 5 after that, all the way down here. So they have basically eliminated the leadership of Hezbollah, okay? Now, Hezbollah, you can take out their leadership.
Well, I was going to say, so they're not like ants scrambling.
No.
They're still organized enough to...
And bear in mind, who's providing them with the missiles and the funding and everything else? Iran, okay? And so even though we've taken this whole area has been eliminated of these leaders of the terrorists, it's kind of like playing whack-a-mole, because what's going to happen here is there'll be others that'll be brought forward to take these places and totally funded and supported by Iran. This is why on the news you're seeing this discussion about what's going to happen as far as a retaliation against Iran. And everybody's like, well, how's Iran play into this? Well, the way they play into it is they're the money man. They're the ones that are providing the rockets. They're providing the military expertise. They're training terrorists. And so bottom line is Iran is really the big threat here.
So then what is going to happen or what could happen?
Well, now you've asked a $100,000 question.
Right.
Here.
I mean, it's the same
Yeah.
question everybody else is asking,
Yes,
I know. but-
because the problem you have, if you go after somebody like Hezbollah, like this is just a small pocket in southern Lebanon of terrorist organization, and you're trying to take it out. But when you go after a country like Iran, now Iran is backed by China and by Russia. And so before you go pulling a trigger to take Iran out, now the ramifications become huge, these proxy wars. And so that's really where we're at right now in this situation of trying to figure out how do you respond. And that's why you keep hearing them say, you know, Mr. Biden, how are you going to respond to this? Well, he's in a big pickle here.
His hands are kind of tied.
Yes, I mean, he can respond to it, but there's going to be huge ramifications.
Right.
Right. And, you know, they've even talked about economically going in and taking, Israel going in and taking out the oil fields. Well, now...
Kind of, I know last month we talked about Venezuela and them being backed by China and Russia. So this is kind of the same situation type thing?
Yes, exactly. And bear in mind, oil plays into all
Right,
this
that's
as
why I was
well.
going to say we learned that Venezuelan oil, they're
And-
paying back whatever they need to pay back with their oil to Russia and
Exactly.
and
And
China, so-
again, think of the ramifications if, you know, and a lot of people don't think of this. You go in and you take out all the oil fields. Well, anytime you're taking out oil fields, how many innocent people are going to be affected by that?
right.
You know, that people that have nothing to do with this.
Right.
You know, we've seen what's happened, you know, with the Persian Gulf and everything when we've had conflicts, and all of a sudden you go to fill up your gas tank at Walmart and it's gone up $2, and you're like, what's going on?
Well, so could we go back to like the embargo or like in the 70s when there was a gas strike
Yes.
or oil strike?
Yes, and therein, you know, leads us down that rabbit hole of, okay, we'll place embargo on them, and we'll cut off all their supplies. Well, again, you're cutting off the supplies to non-combatants. You're impacting the world economic stage. And so now, again, there's so many questions that have to be taken into consideration as you do these sort of things.
But even like with that, so if we were to do that, it's basically hurting us. It's not going to hurt them. They're going to find somebody else to buy their oil.
Yes, like Russia.
China, Russia,
Yes.
Venezuela,
Right.
or you know any of the
Yes.
other major
And,
players.
and I'll throw one more piece in here that a lot of people aren't aware of. Everybody says, what in the world does Russia want with this area? Why do they care? Well, the big reason that Russia is so interested in this is Syria has a warm water port, and that's why they've been backing Assad. Russia needs a warm water port. Russia's frozen tundra, and it's been that way since the turn of the 20th century. They've constantly been looking for a warm water port. It's part of what led to the Korean War. It's the Crimean War. In every case, what it was is that Russia is trying to find a place where they can put their boats where they don't freeze in solid in the dead of Russian winter.
Gotcha.
And so this was, they're looking at it as a piece of real estate. They don't care about the rest of Syria, but boy, that port would be a handy thing to have.
Gotcha.
Okay? So again, when you, I guess the big picture, and your questions are great, is that people step back and say, what in the world is going on? Well, the solutions have so many different ramifications that you really have to think before you pull the trigger on something.
Right.
And that's, you know, and there's a couple of different ways of looking at it. You know, I mean, you could just pull the trigger and level it and say, okay, let's start over again.
Yeah.
But in essence, isn't that where we were at the end of World War I?
Yes.
So, you know, do you go back to that, clear the map, and come back and say, okay, these people are in charge here, these are here, and here's the new lines on the map? It hasn't
don't
worked
think
out real well this time, has it?
No, I mean 100 years.
Yeah.
Under 100 plus years.
We made it 100 years, but these are the kind of things that you have to think
But it's been in
about.
constant conflict.
Exactly. Right. Now, these Israeli attacks recently on Hezbollah left Lebanon and much of the Mideast in total shock, especially when you have this kind of situation, okay? Now, what we see happen is that Hezbollah at the time was backing Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So that's part of the reason why you saw Israel trying to strategically take out targets and why they eventually took out the leader of Hezbollah, because they were working in conjunction with Hamas on the southern side. Okay, so basically Israel's doing what they can to take out that northern threat is what they were doing. And as it turned out, here comes Hezbollah and lobs thousands and thousands of rockets in, and now they've got a real mess in their hands. Okay,
Right.
does that make sense to you?
It does make sense.
Okay, good. Now, let's talk about this guy, this Hassan Nasrallah. Okay, now since 1992, Nasrallah had led the group through several wars with Israel, these civil wars that were taking place, okay? And he basically oversaw the transformation of Hezbollah into this powerful political and military player in Lebanon.
Right.
Now, it's interesting in that Hezbollah has two hats. Like I say, they have a political hat and they have a military hat. Now, again, they have a political hat as a result of the settlements that were made, okay? They negotiated and said, well, you know, okay, fine, you know, but we still want to have a seat at the table in Parliament when we end this civil war. And that's what happened, okay? Now, Nasrallah had served as the Secretary General since the assassination of his predecessor by the Israeli Defense Forces, okay? Israel went in and took out the Secretary General, or the leader of Parliament, and then what happened is Hezbollah had an opportunity to move up in the Parliament, okay? So again, one of those decisions. We'll take this guy out, and say that we did that, and then they said,
But they left an opening.
and look who came up. Right, this guy steps up. So now sometimes it goes from bad to worse, all right? Now, clashes between Hezbollah and Israel since the October 23rd Hamas-led attack on Israel have displaced literally tens of thousands of people. Again, there are people on both sides of the border in northern Israel and in southern Lebanon who have no stake in the game. They just live there. And so now, because of the civil war, the fighting between the two countries and the internal civil war, you've got tens of thousands of people out there that are just saying, make it stop, make it go away. But how do you do that? That's the big problem here. And bear in mind, Iran is quite content to continue funneling everything that Hezbollah needs to continue the war, because the bottom line is, Iran doesn't care about the people of Lebanon.
Right.
They want to see Israel gone.
That's why I was going to say they're not going to give up. They're not going to quit their funding or anything like that until Israel just says, all right, you know what? You win.
Right.
We're done. We'll wave the white flag.
And
whatever.
isn't that the beautiful thing about a proxy war? You can turn around and do these sort of things, but you're in Iran. You're not over there where the rockets are lobbing in left and right every night. So this becomes a huge, huge issue, all right? Now, let me give you an idea what we're talking about with these Hezbollah fighters. Because this is, you know, you have a tendency to think, oh, well, this is 6 guys in the back of a Toyota truck with a machine gun, right? No. Like I say, Iran is backing this thing. Estimates right now are that Hezbollah has somewhere between 40,000 and 50,000 military armed members. 40 to 50,000 man terrorist group.
So like we saw on the previous slide where they eliminated all those people. They're organized enough that these guys are gone, but hey, you know what, we've already got in place where the next ranks are coming up.
You took out 20, but
that's nothing. And so
that's nothing compared to a 50,000 man military force. And so this is, you know, it's like I say, it's like playing whack-a-mole. You get rid of one, you're going to get some back, all right? They also have rockets, missiles, and drones. These drones are a real problem. Just recently, I was reading about one of them. They're sending in drones now that'll come in 10 feet off the ground, so you can't pick them up on radar, which is a huge problem.
That's scary.
It is
I'm not
scary.
going to say it's not kind of scary. It is scary.
Yes, it is scary. Now, they're trying to figure out exactly how many of these things they have. Conservative estimates are that Hezbollah has somewhere around 150,000 rockets and drones. Now think about that, 150,000. The other night, what they shoot, in the big conflict, they shot 2,000?
I think so.
So they still got 148,000 left that they could use if they need to. So again, you know, we're not dealing with some small little entity here. You're talking about a huge military force within a government that is being backed by an even bigger government, by Iran. Okay, you with me?
I got you.
All right. Now, again, Hezbollah is aligned strictly with Iran government, their ideology that Israel must be wiped out. Okay, and as a result of that, Hezbollah gets its funding, its training, its weapons, explosives, as well as political and diplomatic clout from Iran. Okay.
Right.
Now, they also provide weapons and training for these Houthi guys. You guys, every now and again, they'll sprinkle a Houthi in there every now and again. And you think, Houthis? These guys are over in Lebanon, or I'm sorry, they're in Yemen, and they're the ones that are lobbing rockets out at the ships passing down in the Persian Gulf and to the south, okay? So what you see happening here is it's another front. And again, Iran is really smart the way they're doing this. They've put Israel in a two-front war. They've got Hamas to the south, Hezbollah to the north, and now they've got Yemen, and these Houthis are sitting there, and all of the supplies that need to get to Israel to help support them, to carry on their war,
right,
are coming under attack from rockets being shipped or fired out from, basically it's on the southern tip of Saudi Arabia and out into the Gulf.
Right.
And so now, you know, when you look at it from a military standpoint, the war is being conducted fairly well by the Iranians, in that you put your enemy in a two-front war and you cut off their supplies. That's the intent, okay? And again, you have to step all the way back and look at it and say, okay, UN, what are you going to do? What are we going to do about this? And so these diplomatic discussions that you see on the news every night, you know, as they sprinkle these different groups in, understand that they are all tied together in one common goal, and that's to take Israel out, and they're being backed by Iran. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, but you know, like I say, it's kind of bad at night sometimes when you're watching the news and they sprinkle a new name in. You go, Houthis, you know, who are the Houthis? You know, you're like, you know, Houthi and the Blowfish? You know, I mean, my wife will look at me and say, who that is? And she's so funny because, you know, being married to a history professor, she's learned. She says, in 20 words or less, who are the Houthis?
20 words.
And I just go, well, that's not going to happen. You know, hey, yeah.
So do you ask for a 20-page report? Or?
Yes, you know, I tried that once. I said, why don't you write a paper on that and you can report back to me next week.
Yeah,
no, that didn't work.
Did you have dinner?
Well. Yeah, well, we're still married after 51 years.
That's good. That's always
it has
good.
its moments, needless to say, right? Now, here we got to look at these Hezbollah on the political side, and this to me is even more fascinating. They became a part of the Lebanese government, Hezbollah did, in 1992. 8 of its members were elected to the Lebanon parliament. Now, bear in mind, the Lebanon parliament has all these different groups, Shiite, Sunni, Catholic, Christian, they're all in there, okay? Mm-hmm. And so now you've got these 8 rabble-rousers, if you will, that are there in the Lebanese parliament. Now you sit there and think, how does this work, right? Now in the most recent national elections, in 2022, Hezbollah maintained 13 seats in Lebanon's 128-member parliament. Okay, so we'd be like having a group of 10, 15 people in our House of Representatives or in our Senate that are representing that group, okay? And so anytime there's any kind of a debate, they step forward. I'm getting smiles from our group over here, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going there, folks. Not going there, all right? So what you have is you have the tail wagging the dog, right? And that gets to be a big problem, all right, trying to get anything passed.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and it's such a diverse group anyhow, it's almost impossible. Now, basically what happens then is Hezbollah is running a government within a government. They have this southern area of Lebanon. That's their, think of it as a congressional district.
So could Lebanon just cede that to Hezbollah and say, hey, you know what, we're done with you guys?
That's in essence what they've done. Okay. They've basically, Lebanon has said, you guys stay down in your little area down there. They control those areas completely. I mean, completely. The people that live there, you know, they're just, this is what it is. But yeah, they basically control the whole area. Okay. And Lebanon kind of says, just let them do their thing over there, all right? Now here, you sit there and think, how in the world does this happen? Well, the people in southern Lebanon are in the same situation that the people in Gaza were in. What happened is they've got this ruling group who are military and part of their political entity. But what's happened is Hezbollah was smart enough to do the same thing that Hamas did. They went in and they built libraries. They built schools. They built hospitals. They built all of the kids programs. You know, they had youth programs and everything. And so when they came in, everybody's like, well, I like these guys. They're taking care of us. They're seeing to us that we're getting fed. They're taking care of them. And so the people there that are in that southern Lebanon area under Hezbollah rule, they're kind of on the fence. You know, do we resist?
Right.
Or do we just sit here and say, let them do their thing? And in essence, that's what we had there in Gaza. We had Hamas had come in there and built schools and boys clubs and all kinds of stuff, and people thought, they're not so bad, until rockets started flying.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's, hey, dude, wait, okay? And now that's where these people in southern Lebanon are. Because Israel is not sitting idly by and letting them shoot 1,000 rockets at them. Israel is shooting them back. And so the people there in southern Lebanon, who in the past have kind of turned a blind eye to what Hezbollah was doing, now are having rockets drop in on their neighborhood.
Yeah.
See? Okay, so, and this is where you're getting the argument from the UN, innocent people are being killed.
Yes, they are on both sides, though.
Yes, yes.
So I can see their dilemma. What do you do? How do you go in and not?
Right, right. And so you see, it's a real conundrum, if you will.
Right.
In that some people are saying, how innocent are they if they had this going on in their own neighborhood and they just sat there and accepted all the benefits of having him in charge.
But on that same note, though, I mean, how, I don't know how to word this, but they're there.
Uh-huh.
That's the situation normal, though.
Right.
So really, it's not like that's anything different for them. It's what they've known.
And as a small community, look at it as being something about the size of Camden County. If we had that situation and you're up against not only Hezbollah, but Iran as well, what power do you have?
Exactly. I guess that's what I was trying to say,
Yes.
is what power do you have?
Right.
I mean, you're just there.
Right.
You have no control over anything.
Sure. It would be like living in France under German occupation.
Right.
You know, okay, yeah, we had a French resistance, but yeah, you know, look how that turned out.
Well, like you said, it's basically a group of people, not as many as what Hezbollah has, 40 or 50,000 members, and you have a group of what, maybe 20,000?
Yes, yes. And so this is again, I guess what I'm really trying to get across in our show today is for you to, as you get these little blurbs coming from the national news, take the time to do your research. Take the time to look at who these players are, because each one of them has a story like this. And guess what, guys? We got a library here, and we've got books pulled for you right here. If you want to come into our library anytime, we're more than happy to help you. And we've got some great librarians here. You know, I'm here. Any of us would be more than happy to help you if you have questions on some of these things. And like I say, do your own research, because the talking heads on the news at night, they're not giving you all of this. They're not sharing with you what the situation is. No. They just tell you Israel lobbed some rockets. And they're notorious on both sides in both areas for dragging out the kids that have been killed and everything else. And you're thinking, oh my God, how terrible is this? It is terrible. But you also have to take into consideration who's doing it and why they're doing it. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay, cool. Now, like I said, at the same time, Hezbollah is running the political end of this thing. They have a military arm. And under the 1989 Taif Agreement, which was brokered by Saudi Arabia and Syria to bring an end to the Civil War, what they did is they said, okay, the war ends, the Civil War is over. That's when they brought Syria in. And they said, we're taking away all the arms from the military on all the sides that are participating in this Civil War, except for Hezbollah. Hezbollah got to keep their arms. Yeah. So again, decisions were made that led to where we're at today.
Right.
And again, diplomacy When you hear people talking about diplomacy, everybody says, oh, how wonderful. They're all going to sit down at the table, and they're going to come up with a solution. Well, look what's happened. Every time they come up with a solution, nobody's stepping back to say, well, how come they get to keep all their guns and we don't?
Right. Why didn't somebody question it? Or did they, and we just don't?
Or what was given in return.
Exactly.
You know, as these negotiations take place, there's what you get. You know, and so it is one of those things where you've just got to step back and say, how did we get here, and what in the world how did we get to this point? Now, a 2018 report from the Center for Strategic and International Studies says that Hezbollah is the most heavily armed non-state actor. The most heavily armed non-state actor.
That makes me feel good.
Yes. In June of 2024, the experts speculated that Hezbollah has 150,000 to 200,000 rockets and missiles of various sizes and capabilities. Yes. So again, you know, when you're looking for a quick solution to this, I don't think it's coming.
Yeah.
Now, one final piece here. What is Hezbollah's connection to Syria? Hezbollah finds Syria as an ally because what happened was, like I say, Syria came into Lebanon during Lebanese Civil War as the peacekeeper of all people, right? And the Syrian government remained as the peacekeeper force in Lebanon until it was driven out in 2005, okay?
Right.
So basically, you know, they then got into their own civil war, and Hezbollah used the weapons that they had to come in and help Syria. So when we sent troops into Syria and we're fighting against Assad and his regime, we're also fighting Hezbollah there on another front altogether.
Gotcha.
Have I really lost you? It is. It's confusing, isn't it? Yeah. So basically, the Syrian government basically is helping to facilitate the transfer of weapons from Iran to the militia. The key here is that how is Hezbollah getting the weapons? Well, they don't have to bring them straight across the border. There's reasons they can't get through military. Okay, they can't come through Iraq. So what they do is they transfer. Iran takes the weapons, they take them to Syria, and Syria brings them in from the north and hands them to Hezbollah. Okay, that's the route, if you will. So that alliance between Syria and Hezbollah is another huge problem. Okay, it's kind of like in Vietnam when we're trying to cut off supplies, you know, into Vietnam. Yes. Same thing. Again, supply route is huge. All right. Now, Hezbollah has publicly confirmed its involvement in the Syrian Civil War. They don't hide that at all. Okay, and it sent 7,000 of their military over to go help fight with Assad and his regime. Okay, so again, one final thing to think about is that Syria is backed by Russia. And why does Russia want it? A warm water port. So you can see they're all tied together. They might not all be fighting for the same thing, but they're all tied together in this conflict. And so when you make a decision as to what you're going to do about Syria and about Hezbollah, you have to take into consideration the ramifications of everything that you do in that conflict. Cool?
Yep.
Yeah, all right. So, bottom line is, there it is. You have it. There you have it, folks. I hope I haven't completely confused you, other than the fact that the big picture here is it's important that when the talking heads are on TV at night and they mention these folks, take into consideration all the things that played into this, all the way back to World War I, where decisions were made, settlements were made, and we're suffering the ramifications from those decisions.
Still trying to clean it up.
Still trying to clean it up, okay? That's all I got.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
That's all you got.
Yeah.
Well, I got some things.
Okay, you've got a few things too?
I got a few things.
How about we talk a little bit about a library?
We can do that. Well, kind of like you were talking about, we have all the resources here, but then we also have resources online. I can't talk today. So this is our EBSCO host. And with that, we have 15 different databases that can be searched on topics. This one I actually did a search for Hezbollah and military, and it's kind of hard to see, but there was 672 results returned. This is ebooks, this is peer-reviewed journals, this is scholarly journals, articles, this is newspapers, anything basically that they can grab and put on there, and it's all been vetted through EBSCOhost, all their stuff. So you can do that too, read full text articles. Sometimes you might just get the abstract, but we can try to help you find that article if that's something that you're really looking for on that. So with that though, if you're using that from home, you will need to click on our website when you go to ccld.us and to our digital library or our online resources part. There's a link underneath our A to Z list of databases that says access EBSCO from home. And you'll need to click on that. Otherwise, it won't let you in there if you click on just one of the other titles, like if you go to Academic Search Elite or anything like that. It won't give you that credentials. It'll say you're not allowed to use this. But if you use that link, EBSCO for home use, then it will let you do that.
And trust me, if you struggle with this, give us a call.
Exactly.
Because
that's what we're here for.
You're looking at the guy that struggles with this, all right? There was a little incident yesterday where I was trying to pull up something, and I was at my house trying to pull something up, and I called and got a hold of our techies and Coli and them, and they proceeded to give me the technical answer. You have to do this, this, and this.
That would be Mark.
Which I'm thinking, man, I wish my grandkids were here to help me with this. But I did it. I figured it out because they explained it good enough that I could get there. So if you're struggling, call us. We have people here that can even take somebody like me and walk me through how to get access. So,
and even if then it's still confusing to you, bring your device in. We can walk you through with your device and show you how to do it, unless you're on a desktop, and then it might be a little bit harder. But we can show you on our desktop how to walk through that.
You bet.
Speaking of computers and needing help, on Thursdays at 1, I believe it is. Let me make sure here. Yes, at 1 p.m. here at the Camden Library, we do have a learning how to use computer class. So we will use our computer lab in here. We have lessons for people who might not be familiar with a computer. I mean, I know that's kind of hard to believe that maybe some people aren't as familiar with it, but some people just don't want to use that technology and now are being forced to use that technology.
Well, and sometimes the computer doesn't want to cooperate with you. You know,
very true.
It was working perfectly yesterday, and then all of a sudden, gremlins had gotten into it and updated something, and then you're going, what? Guess what? We've got people that can help you through that, because mine is like, it's an evil wizard that sits on my desk sometimes.
Is he behind the curtain?
Yes, and it says, not today, Jim. No.
Today, Jim. Yeah. So if you're interested in taking those lessons with us on Thursdays, you can call our Camden branch at 573-346-5954 and add your name to that list. We do have a limited amount of computers in the lab, but please do go ahead and get signed up for that, and we'll work in some way. So, now, I know you're not a teenager.
No, but I know all about Taylor Swift.
Oh, you gave away my surprise.
Go for it.
You don't want to be a part of a Swiftie party?
I'm telling you. If she just stay out of Chiefs Stadium, I'd be okay. Right?
I'm not going to get in the middle of that one. All I know is that she's coming back to North America with her Eras Tour. And so the Osage Beach Library for the teens has decided to do a Swiftie party. And actually that is this afternoon at 4 p.m. So you'll be making bracelets. You'll be doing some trivia, Taylor Swift trivia, listening to music. So I think it'll be a fun time.
I need to go to that just so my grandkids will think he's not that bad. But
they'll think you're hip.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying.
No, yeah.
I don't know what the new terminology is. My kids don't
That was
tell me
Maynard
that.
G. Krebs used to use that. Right? Yeah.
I guess I'm a square.
You and I are the only ones who know who that is, right?
So with this, teens can wear Taylor-inspired outfits if they want. It's not required, but they can if they want. If you want any more information about this event before this afternoon, please call the Osage Beach Library at 573-348-3282. We'll see if I can remember some numbers.
There you go.
How about this? Do you know what that is?
I love it.
Do you love it?
Yes.
So Mark 3D printed for us a chili bean trophy. So how do you earn a chili bean trophy? You got to participate in our chili cook-off, which is Saturday, October 26th here at the Camden Library. So you can register online by going to our calendar of events. There is a link in the description of this video below. And then on our Facebook page, it's on there as well, or our Instagram page, it's on there. But you can make your chili, bring it in Saturday, October 26th between 9:30 and 11:30. Set up your little spot, have some things there with you. And then we'll start tasting from 11:30 to 1:30. And then at 2, we'll announce the winner.
Nice.
So patrons can come in, even anybody off the street can come in and taste chili and vote for your favorite. And then the winner will receive a chili bean trophy, which is 3D printed, which is pretty awesome.
Yes.
And a $30 gift card, too.
Yay.
So I'm not sure where the gift card is to. I haven't asked Karen that, but
Now, can I tell a little story?
you sure can.
I was in one of these contests years back, not here at the library. And we forgot that the contest was going to be that Saturday. And so my wife and I, in our infinite wisdom, we said, well, we said we'd bring chili. So we ran up to Steak and Shake and got their chili. And
You
we
did
put
not.
it in our pot, okay, and carried it in there. And there must have been 40 people there tasting chili. You want to guess who got second place in the contest?
You didn't.
I did.
No way.
We lost to this one guy, and
He went and got Wendy's, didn't he?
got the big trophy and all. And after everybody had settled down afterwards, he walked over to us and he handed us the trophy. And I said, what's this about? He said, I cheated. I used Steak and Shake chili. So we had to give it to the third place person. So there's no honor among thieves. So
That's hilarious.
I'm not suggesting you do that.
No,
but,
please don't make your
you know,
own chili. Use your own chili.
make your own
recipe.
chili. But if you're in a bind,
I guess if you're in a bind and you need something.
I probably shouldn't have shared that. But hey,
Maybe we should let Karen be on the lookout for that.
she was involved in it.
Not
She-
your Karen, our Karen.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, yeah. If you find any Steak and Shake cans in the room where we're doing the chili contest, disqualify them. Yeah. All right.
Jim's been
Yes.
cooking chili again.
I already invented that. Yeah. Okay. What else you got for me?
Well, we know that October is usually spooky season.
Uh-huh.
So what is a spooky season without a haunted meeting room?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm actually excited to see what Osage Beach is going to do over there. I know
They're
they came-
amazing up there.
They are. I know they came and borrowed some Halloween decorations from over here. They kind of gave me an idea kind of what they were going. They didn't want to go too spooky because they didn't want to scare the littler kids. But starting October 21st through the 31st, you can go into the Osage Beach meeting room and take a tour of their haunted meeting room.
How cool is that?
Isn't that cool? You know what I think we need to do is, and I've seen it on other libraries, is in their library things, they have a paranormal kit where you can check out like the meters and everything to check for paranormal activity.
Really?
Yeah. So I think it'd be kind of interesting to have something like that, or even having an event or something where we do a paranormal activity.
There you go.
I don't know, something different.
You're always thinking.
I try. If you see smoke, don't put me out. It's
There you
because I'm
go.
thinking. Teens aged 12 to 18 are invited to the Camden Library October 25th. It's just Friday from 6 to 8 for our Ultimate Smash Brothers tournament on the Wii, or on the Switch. That's how shows you how old my gaming system is. They will do a tournament that is a double elimination style. They will have 4 players per match, and the top 2 players per match go to the top.
All right. Help this old guy. What is a Smash tournament? Is that what is it? What is that? In my day, when you went somewhere and got smashed, it was a whole different deal. No? Okay.
No, not that.
All right.
For
Okay,
you
I'm with you now.
teens.
Yeah, it's a game.
It's a game. It's actually a game on the Nintendo Switch, and they've had it on other consoles as well. But it brings all the characters from the Nintendo world, and you can bring them in, and it's like a fighting, competing type game. So
Cool.
then they pick their characters, and then they'll use those in battle, and then the top 2 in that battle will go to the next
Cool.
bracket. So it's
Yeah?
kind of a bracket deal with a double elimination, and then the top 3 players will win a prize. And actually, Mark, and I should have brought those up here too. He actually 3D printed the trophies for those first 3 prizes. So you'll get a gold, there's a silver, and then there's a bronze as well.
Nice.
So they are very cool looking. That'll actually look similar to the O in Smash Brothers, and it'll be just a trophy like this. It'll come
Cool.
up off of it. So he did an
Awesome.
awesome job with that.
Great.
So Seating is limited. You'll want to get registered for that, and you can do that online as well. Again, the link is in the description of this video and on our website and on our calendar of events. It's actually a featured event on our calendar of events.
Cool.
The other thing is we will actually have a Missouri author at the Stoutland Library on October 29th, which is a Tuesday at 5:30. Janet Singh, she also goes by J.S. Perry. She wrote the book Cold Iron. Janet actually grew up in Competition, Missouri, and then moved to North Carolina and lived there for 35 years. She graduated cum laude from West Carolina University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice in 1997. And then also in 1997, she was working for a CPA firm in Nashville, North Carolina.
Nashville.
Yeah. So when she retired from there, it left her time to pursue her relentless research on the Civil War's impact on civilians. So that's kind of right up your alley. You said you were a Civil War buff.
Yeah.
So after 20 years of research, she has written her novel, Cold Iron, and was published in August of 2024. Now, Cold Iron is the story of two Fulton, Missouri residents. Their names are Sarah and Ruth, who discover the story of Samantha Cold Iron and her flight from a man trying to kill her in 1864.
Wow.
Yes. So as far as Sarah and Ruth know, Samantha is fleeing from this man, and in a series of mishaps, she actually stumbles upon a cache of gold.
Nice.
In that search, it's also they were on their way looking for life-saving salt.
Great.
So, but once they found that gold, or Samantha found that gold cache, it hasn't been seen since that time. So it's told in alternating chapters between Sarah and Ruth and Samantha's flight from Frank Daniels in 1864.
Nice.
Now here's the kicker, is Sarah and Ruth only have 1 week to get to North Carolina, find where Samantha lived, ask the new owner if they can search for gold on that property, and then get back before they lose their jobs. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but she
Great.
will be at the Stoutland Library on October 29th, which is a Tuesday at 5:30 for their book club. So
Great.
the other thing is October 30th. Are you a poet?
No.
Neither am I.
No.
I can't write poetry to save my life.
Me either.
But if you are a poet, or you even just like to listen to poetry, the Osage Beach Library will have an open mic poetry night on October 30th from 6:30 to 8. So come in, share your poetry, listen to others as they share their poetry as well. It's kind of neat. I mean, most people are kind of shy about sharing their works, but this kind of gives them an intimate
Well, that's great.
way to do that.
So we can pull some authors and poets out of the community.
That's
By all
right.
means, if you
That's right.
are a budding author or a poet,
Let us know.
look us up.
Yes,
We'd
exactly.
love to help you get out there and meet your community.
Exactly. So
Great.
they do require that you register for this event, or appreciate that you do. You can do that by calling them again at 573-348-3282. And then the last thing I've got is, how would you like to have fresh leafy greens or herbs all year round?
You bet.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
So Ramon from the University of Missouri Extension Office will be here, actually on Halloween, so on Thursday, October 31st at 4 p.m. for a free class teaching people how to grow leafy greens and herbs all year round with hydroponics.
Cool.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. And we do require you to register for that class as well. And that's going to be here at the Camden branch, and you can do that by calling 346-5954.
Great. Great. Lots of interesting, diverse things that you can do here at the library.
And that was just kind of a quick rundown. If you go to our calendar of events, there are many more events that we will be hosting throughout the month. And then don't forget our weekly story times. At most of our branches, we have a preschool story time. And then we have 3 branches that offer a toddler story time. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, that's great. That's great.
That was
Folks,
kind of a quick rundown. I
thank
apologize.
you for joining us in this edition of Chapter and Chatter. We always enjoy being able to interact with the public, so get in here, do your research, take advantage of all these great programs that we have. That's all I have. How about you?
Well, so our next Chapter and Chatter, Chapter 10, actually occurs on Thursday, November 21st.
Okay.
So a week before Thanksgiving.
We'll come up with something pretty interesting there.
I threw you, didn't I?
You bet.
All
That's
right.
great. That's
Perfect.
great. Thank you all.
Thank you.